Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. I'm with the gang, we packing. We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Running drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoe, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas key. You with me, sheesh. Benito G. Keith.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they about to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom, vroom. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my low, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate but like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I will soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom, vroom. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are down and I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shooting this brace, I'm going in a new gear, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Coach, what's next for me, Joe? I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Space shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, don't know what is in me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, at the top of the class on a roll. Ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Kennels live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for yesterday. Mafia, we got a lot to talk about as Bitcoin is getting the bounce off our absolutely critical level of support, sitting between $108,000 and $107,000. We've been looking at this level for so long, and we are getting a little bit of a bounce. But unfortunately, guys, we are getting some bearish signs on the higher time frames. I'm going to go over my overall bias here on the charts and the overall market as of right now. And then we'll cover the local levels of support, the local levels of resistance. I'm going to cover the biggest level of resistance above us. Already potentially heading there right now. Well, I'm going to give you guys my actual trading plan, my full trading plan, and what I'm going to be looking for next here on Bitcoin. Now, I am long from that $107,000 to $108,000 zone, but with those bearish signs on the higher time frames, we have some money flow coming out. We got some high time frame bear divs. It does look like we may be headed for some more downside. So I'll show you guys, if we do wind up losing this $108,000 to $107,000 zone, where are we looking next? Is there a possibility of bouncing? Well, I sure hope so, guys. But I'm going to cover everything. We got a lot to cover as we are getting this bounce, guys. And to be honest, with a lot of the developments we're seeing on Market Cypher B, I am definitely very cautious on this push to the upside. But I'm not even just going to show you guys, why I'm cautious. I'll also show you the key level of resistance that, if broken above, would kind of change my tune. But unfortunately, I hate to be the guy to say it. We got money flow coming out on the daily. We got some bearish signals on those higher time frames. We got a monthly bear deal. We got a lot of stuff to look at. So I'm going to try to make sense of this market, guys. This is an absolutely critical moment for Bitcoin. And I know I've been saying that for the past week or so, but it is for a reason. And hopefully by showing you guys the TA, you can kind of see why this level is so important and why we want to hold it, because losing the levels underneath us is, in my opinion, not going to be very good for Bitcoin. So shout out to the CandleMafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Let's see. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. Says, take screenshots and submit your applications. I think he's talking about those McDonald's applications, guys. Oh, God. Shout out to Panda Prophet. I never worked at McDonald's, and hopefully I don't have to start. But shout out to Panda Prophet. Welcome in. We got Crypto Owl in the chat. Welcome in, bro. Good to see you in here. We got DK Insight in the chat. Said 14 more days, guys. Oh, God. Or kids. Shout out to DK Insight. Yes, we still do have a lot of those macroeconomic signals that could indicate that final phase of the bull market coming in, potential alt season, maybe a new all-time high on Bitcoin. And that's really what I want to talk about, guys. Is it possible to see the alt rally without a new all-time high coming in on Bitcoin? I mean, I hope the all-time high comes in, but obviously I make all my decisions based off the chart, and there is a possibility that we can see, maybe rate cuts come in. Hopefully Bitcoin goes into a new all-time high, but if not, we've talked a lot about the retracements up, what I'll be looking for to indicate if the top is in on Bitcoin, and there is a possibility that we could see those pushes up on the altcoins without Bitcoin making a new all-time high. So I'm going to cover that with you guys. We got Gen Z in the chat. What is going on, bro? We got K Diggity. What is going on? Said, sup, Chip? Shout out to K Diggity. Long time no see. He was in the K Diggity. You were in the premium Discord, the premium live stream today, weren't you? Shout out to K Diggity. Welcome in, bro. Good to see you in here. We got Amina in the chat. Let's see. We got Blair says, hola, Frankie. Shout out to Blair. Welcome in. We got Jack in the chat. Daniel, new word. Digital Pencil. What is going on? Bullish on ice cream. I don't think I've ever been bearish on ice cream. Shout out to Digital Pencil. I love ice cream. Mrs. Candles can't eat ice cream, so it's kind of brutal. I just have to, shove ice cream in my face, and Mrs. Candle's just sitting there looking at me like a sad puppy. But shout out to Digital Pencil. Welcome in. Baby Genius. Welcome in. Nirvana. And last but not least, we got Jack and Perry in the chat, Samcam as well. But guys, we got a lot to look at on the charts today, so I'm not going to waste too much time up here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So as you know, right, let me hide this local range. As you guys know, we have been looking at this key level between $108,000 and $107,000 for quite some time. And there is a really, really big reason for that, right? This is the golden pocket when pulled, obviously, from the low here at about 98,200 all the way to the all-time high. This is a big area of support. Not only is it at the golden pocket, we also had some daily MPOCs down here. As you can see, we came down and to be honest, we kind of front ran that daily MPOC. We almost tapped it, but if we zoom in enough here, you can see it is technically front ran here. But we did have a lot of levels of support here. And we did have, I'm actually still holding my long from a little while ago, but we did have a long setup here in the premium Discord looking for some bullish divergences on the 4-hour time frame with some other additional confirmations to look for anybody who might have missed the original entry to look for another entry to get in here. And we did see that end up playing out, giving us a nice push to the upside. I am still holding my long position here over on Femex, up about $1,700. And I actually have an interesting plan for this. You can notice here, I don't know if you guys can notice, but there is no stop loss set here. This is just showing you guys kind of where the entry is. But I do not have a stop loss set here, and it's for a very specific reason. But as we've been looking at this key level of support for forever, right? Like we've been looking at this, ever since we were up here. Honestly, ever since we made this new all-time high, right? Even actually ever since we pulled it to this high. This all-time high didn't really change this level too much. But this is a huge level of support, guys. Not only is it the golden pocket, not only is it the daily MPOC, not only is it the daily horizontal level we had down there, but on Friday's live stream, we actually covered that this is also perfectly confluent, guys, with the bull market support band. And Huge level. I cannot stress enough how important of a level of support this is. And it's great to see the bounce here. And you might be saying, well, Frankie, if this is such a confluent level of support, not only is it just this, but it's also our macro anchored VWAP pulled all the way from the bottom of the dump here back in April to $75,000. This is also the macro anchored VWAP. You could just see all the confluence coming in at this level. And when you typically see those high confluence areas, this is typically a good place to look for at least some kind of a reaction on price, which is part of the reason why we were looking for those long positions, which are playing out very nicely, as we just showed you. But, why am I saying be careful, right? So, Frankie, we came down to a huge key level of support. We got some bullish confirmations. Like, why are you, so cautious on the way back up? And it has to do with two big reasons, right? Number one, we have the, I'll actually just take this anchored VWAP off for now. It all comes down to the daily money flow, right? Well, not all, but part of the reason here is the daily money flow is coming out here, guys. Now, the daily time frame is not a low time frame. This is a generally high time frame, and when you see the money flow coming out like this, oftentimes, it does mean you have to be careful for lower highs and lower lows to come in, and I'll talk about that more bearish scenario. There's two major things I'm looking for down here if we do get another drop to the downside, and just to keep in mind here, guys, I saw some people talking about this in the chat. We are coming up to, I'll just pull these up, but we are coming up to a local level of resistance. We have a golden pocket 786. We also had a weekly MPOC up in here. So we actually are pushing into resistance right now locally. And I'll talk about what happens if we break above this. But just to kind of give you guys, if we start pushing back here, just understand we are at resistance here. But, when we look at this, we have the daily money flow coming out, which does have to make us careful of lower highs and lower lows. And even if we continue up, right, that daily money flow is going to take, it's a higher time frame, right? So if we push up here, it doesn't necessarily invalidate that money flow necessarily. We could be coming into an even bigger level of resistance. I would say the biggest level of resistance on the chart right now, which sits between about $114,000 and $115,000. But when we see this money flow come out, right, it's nice. We're at support. And as we talked about on Friday, right, like, the only thing I can look for down here, guys, is long positions, right? And you might be saying to yourself, well, Frankie, it's like, if we're looking for a potential bigger drop down, why are you looking for long positions? Well, when you're at support, right, we shorted the fake out here of the all-time high off a failed auction, and we rode this all the way down here. I personally closed my long short position at about $111,000, and then we decided to flip long here at the key level of support that I just brought up. But, at this point, right, you've already had a massive drop to the downside. Like, this is just not where you want to short. Even if we are looking for lower highs and lower lows, right, like, this is not necessarily the best place to take a trade, right, or a short position, right? You have to wait for some kind of a retracement to look for that short, which is why we were looking for the long, and, clearly that worked out very, very nicely. But daily money flow comes out, you're just going to be looking for those lackluster retracements, lower highs, lower lows. On top of that, guys, we've been keeping an eye on this weekly bearish divergence, which is, obviously confirmed at this point. But, something that was a little more relevant there was the 2-week bearish divergence, which is now confirmed. We have the higher highs on our price action. We have the lower highs on our momentum weights. This is a bearish confirmation and does indicate that even if, especially with money flow coming out, right, like this 2-week bear div is, in my opinion, definitely possible to give us more downside on Bitcoin. But when you see the daily the daily money flow crossing over into the red, that means that, not only can we, obviously we can long those bounces to the upside, but we do have to be careful because, if that money flow is coming out indicating a continuation down, if we have the confirmed 2-week bear div, those two bearish confirmations on a higher time frame, this is a 2-week bear div. It's not like a 5-minute bear div, right? On top of that, we are now printing a monthly bearish divergence, guys. And, again, I want to preface this with, we are not completely bearish just yet. We are holding on top of key support. This does not mean that I'm instantly looking for zero or instantly calling for the bear market at all, right? It's not until we lose the key levels on I'm going to bring up a little bit later in the stream. But we do have the monthly bearish divergence, right? This is, very likely to give us some kind of a bigger pullback. And this does remind me a lot of the price action back here when we had our pullback to $75,000, where we were looking for higher lows and higher highs. That is what we got. But, as we creep later into the cycle, these monthly bearish divergences get a little bit sketchier and sketchier as we get closer, to wrapping up from a timing perspective, what you would expect the 4-year cycle to be. So monthly bear div, 2-week bear div, weekly bear div's been confirmed. Daily money float now crossing into the red. I just have to have that bias, right? I would say, as long as we hold on top of this level of support, and more importantly, as long as we're able to hold above this 786, this is generally the actual technical level that I'll be watching, that if broken, I'd be expecting a much bigger drop on Bitcoin. And then at that point, guys, I just don't really see a situation, unfortunately, that if we lose this 786, I don't really see a situation that, like, even if we bounce off the POC, but more than that, right? If we bounce off the value area low on that retracement to the upside, this is what we covered last week. It's on that retracement that we have to have all eyes on the higher time frame money flow. And by higher time frame money flow, I am talking about the weekly and the higher daily time frames, the 3-day, the 4-day, the 5-day, the 6-day. If we see this retracement to the upside with money flow coming out, this would indicate, I mean, at this point, maybe the daily money flow is coming out as well, would indicate, right, in my opinion, that it is a higher probability, right? If we come up and money flow is coming out on the higher time frames, it would indicate to me that it is going to be a little bit higher probability that maybe 125K was the top. This is not me calling the top right now. Why? Because we are still holding above healthy levels, healthy retracement levels, right? This golden pocket, and technically the 786 is healthy. I really hope that we don't have to deal with that 786. I'm going to cover that in a minute. But as long as we hold on top of this, I think there is still hope, right? But once we break below that, you can't just hold on to that bullish bias forever, right? When you have technical reasons to look for lower, you have to listen to the charts, right? So it's not until we lose that 786 that I will really be looking at the idea of, like, maybe the top is actually in on Bitcoin. Until then, what are we doing here? We're retesting structure. There's nothing wrong with this, in my opinion. But with those warning shots being fired on the daily money flow, on the 2-week bearish divergence, on that monthly bearish divergence, you know, in my opinion, right, just from a general TA perspective, it would not be impossible to break back down into this range and get that bigger drop to the downside. You know, if we're going to, hold this structure, right, even if we have to go down to the 786 and get that new all-time high on Bitcoin for alt season to come in as well. And again, just because Bitcoin doesn't make an all-time high does not mean that you can't see the alts pump. But we still have all the macroeconomic factors. The Fed Watch tools still at 92% for a rate cut in 14 days. We are coming very close to that FOMC meeting. I will very likely stream that for you guys. We have the RTY breaking out. We have all these things that we've been looking at, making us anticipate that last phase of the bull market where all the retail comes in, the altcoins go crazy, and it's the part that everybody gets excited for. And obviously the alts have been getting crushed this cycle. So everybody's been anticipating that more than ever, right? And a lot of those macro, even Bitcoin dominance breaking down, obviously one of the biggest things that we keep an eye on, right? Like Bitcoin dominance still looking generally weak here, in my own personal opinion, right? We're broken down out of this volume profile, and more importantly, right, our 2-day money flow is coming out, right? This is what you want to see. You have the Ethereum high time frame money flow coming into the green. You have Bitcoin dominance breaking down. So, this is all things that we want to see for an alt season to come in. But it does not necessarily mean Bitcoin has to go into an all-time high. Hopefully, that's the preferred scenario, right? I would love that, more than not seeing Bitcoin make a new all-time high. But it is possible to see those alts rally on that retracement, right? And then, everyone comes in, like, oh my God, bull run, it's just starting, right? But meanwhile, Bitcoin's just going in for that macro retracement for a lower high and a lower low. And then on the retracement is where you typically see the rotation, right, of people taking profits on their Bitcoin and then rolling them into altcoins. So just to be clear, like, Bitcoin does not need to make a new all-time high. So just because we lose this, right, does not necessarily mean that you're never going to see the alt rally again. And this is why it's very hard to say. A lot of people say, do you think alt season's canceled this cycle? It's very hard to say, right? Because, I would say losing that 786 would very greatly increase the chances that the top is in on Bitcoin, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the altcoins won't rally based off that rotation of, just rotation of capital, right? People take profit here, the money flow crypto. You can just Google this and find it on Google, like a simple like infographic on how that works, right? People take profits on Bitcoin, they roll it into ETH. We're seeing ETH get the bigger moves to the upside here. Nothing super alarming here on ETH either, right? I would say from a weekly perspective, that money flow, come on. Weekly money flow is still in the green, right? That weekly red dot indicated more downside, and maybe we see a bit of a bigger correction here. But that money flow crossing into the green on the weekly, it indicates to me that, like, higher lows and higher highs are more likely on Ethereum here, especially with the Bitcoin dominance breaking down. So, it's not necessarily that, what I talk about on Bitcoin here means that alt season is completely canceled. But just to be clear, that 786, which does sit here at about 103,867, that is the big key level that, if lost, guys, I'm going to be looking down to at least 96.6K, or even down here to about $91,000 to $92,000 at our value area low. I think if we come down here, guys, it's just very unlikely that, I just have to try to front run what the indicator is going to look like, right? Like, I would assume after this big drop to the downside, all our high time frame money flow is coming out, which is going to give me the bias if I have to try to predict the future here, which I can't do all the time. I would very likely say that if we're bouncing here and money flow is coming out, I'd have to tell you guys, hey, I'm looking for lower highs and lower lows, which would greatly increases the chances that the top is in here on Bitcoin, right? But it's not until we break that level. So it's not over till the fat support breaks, guys, because there really is no reason here from a structure perspective, as long as we stay above these levels, to indicate that anything significant has broken in the market. And if you guys look here, back towards back here in December of 2024, this range that we created, it was a very similar situation, right? And I was looking at this with the premium Discord earlier today, and we pulled this fractal here of just this price action, right? Whoops, that is an anchored VWAP. That's not what we want. So, you kind of have this fractal. I'll obviously have to shrink it down, right? It's obviously a smaller example. But, what happened here, right? We ranged around. We saw our daily money flow coming to the downside, right? We called this perfectly, right? We were looking to come sweep out this liquidity down below. We were looking for that drop to 80 to 75K. The daily money flow on the breakdown gave us the indication that that downtrend would continue with your low, high, lower, high, your high, low, lower, high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low to continue that downtrend. And then money flow is a big indicator of that, right? And why was I not worried back here? Well, we were in a different part of the cycle, to be honest. We had a lot more time to develop a new all-time high here, which was the case. We saw that play out. That was beautiful. But, even if we dug a little deeper into this structure here, guys, there really still wouldn't have been much to worry about, right? We had if we got stuck inside this range and started losing some of the key levels that we had down here, which are very similar to the 786 that we're looking at right now, at that point, if we lost that level, I'd be saying, well, hey, guys, yikes, that might have been a real, 100K might have been the top, right? 110K might have been the top. But what happened, right? We didn't get that. We held the structure. We held the Fibonacci retracements, right? We held that 786 with bullish divergences, right? But on those first bounces, we were not anticipating new all-time highs. What were we anticipating? We were anticipating bounces, and we took those longs for lower highs, lower lows. Longed it again, lower high, lower low. We were able to make money on those moves up while still anticipating a continuation to the downside. We just viewed those long positions as shorter term, right? And then when we came into those levels where those likely lower highs were going to come in, right, you just understand that you have to take profit, move your stop loss, or maybe even just close the whole trade. And it's a very, very similar situation here where you're kind of in that little range, and then if you get that breakdown, we just go ahead and size this up a little bit, right? There is still room for some downside here. Right now, again, I'm not expecting it to play out exactly like this, but it is a very similar situation. Look, our daily money flow is coming into the red, which what happened when in the past, what happened? Lackluster bounce, lower high, lower low. And I'm going to go over that biggest level of resistance where I will be looking for a lower high, which will also be the invalidation if flipped to support for higher prices, right? If we can get above that major resistance, maybe we can start to shift our sentiment towards higher prices to come. But until that happens, these lackluster retracements have to be looked at as potential lower highs and lower lows. Doesn't mean we're necessarily going to zero. Maybe we come up, put in the lower high, put in another lower low, come on down to that 786, which if I pull it here from the low to the high, you could see, again, I'm not expecting it to play out exactly like this, but it is a very similar situation. But it does get a little bit dicey once you start getting down into the $105,000 to $104,000 level near that 786. So a very, very similar situation, but just to kind of show you guys, like, a lot of people will come in and be like, what are you talking about, man? We're getting a huge bounce. How are you possibly looking? We're going to all-time highs, right? But Money Flow was able to identify that, that was not going to be the case, and it really, really played out. And when everybody is just perma-bearish down here, we see the Money Flow starting to come back up, and we start to look for new all-time highs. And what happens? That was the bottom, and we see the new all-time high come in. So, it's just, I like to show kind of like how we've seen similar situations play out, because oftentimes these patterns repeat. And especially when you have the money flow, if we were having the same pattern here and money flow was coming up into the green, you guys would see me up here calling for new all-time highs. But that's just not the case that we're in. So when I say we are at an absolutely pivotal moment in the market, and that the break of that 786 can change everything for my longer-term bullish bias, I mean it, and it's all based off the chart. You're never going to see me sit up here and say, my bias is bullish. I don't care that we're losing the key levels. I still think all-time highs are coming in. That's not how I trade. That's not how I invest. That's not how I go about making my decisions, right? As soon as I see that flip on the charts, right, I have to go with what the charts are telling me. And it was the same thing down here. If we had broken down some other key levels down below, which again, if I could even bring this up to kind of show you guys what we were looking at, right? We had this volume profile pulled from here. We had the POC down here, the value area high. These levels still could have potentially held as support. But once we started losing that, that's major weakness for Bitcoin. But we didn't have to do that, right? We just held the structural highs. So it's just such a similar situation. And with money flow coming out, I just would not be surprised. Like, we have to be on lower high watch. Now the question becomes, Frankie, what if we get the big bounce? Is there a possibility that we can come into new all-time highs? Well, as always, guys, anything is possible, but there are some things I need to see. There are two major zones on the chart right now. Number one is the zone that we're in, bouncing off of right now, the $108,000 to $107,000 golden pocket with the 786 just underneath it, right? Just to show that again, here and here. The biggest level, and I would say this is really the biggest level, just because of all the confluence I brought up in the beginning of the stream. Down here at the 786, we do still have some confluence that I'll bring up for you guys. It's just not as strong, in my opinion, as this golden pocket, right? Even when you pull things up like the bull market support band, why do I say that? I like to explain this stuff so you guys understand. It's much healthier to bounce off the bull market support band, right, than to break down and then bounce. Is it impossible? Because at that point, right, your bull market support band is now resistance. Can you flip this to support and send it? Yes, right? But I just think it's a little bit of a more difficult situation because you're going to have to fight through the bull market support band. You're going to have to fight out of this value area. And once we get accepted into this value area high and we can't break back above, well, the next target's going to be that POC. That's why it's so important, not only for the golden pocket to hold, but if we have to deal with the 786, sketchy situation for sure. But if we do bounce there, you got to get back above this level. You got to get right above the bull market support band. I would not want to see weekly candle closures below that bull market support band. And this is a free indicator. You guys can just search bull market support band. You'll see this pop up. But once you're below all that below all that support, it then becomes major resistance. So I would say the biggest major zones on the chart right now are where we're bouncing from right now. And as a resistance level, I would say the next major level to look at is going to be, obviously rejecting this local fib, but the major level of resistance is going to be sitting in the $114,000 to $115,000 level. Now, you might ask yourself, how big of a level of resistance is this? Well, let me physically show you on the chart. All right, it's not just me saying, I think this level is strong, guys. Obviously, I'm going to back this up with information. So if we pull this up, right, we have our value area low, which, by the way, whether you're looking at the previous value area low or your current value area low, which I'm not personally extending this, but you can see value area low starts at about 113,834, right? And then your previous volume profile value area low sits at about 114.5, right? And this is, this level, even if you're not looking at the current volume profile, your anchored VWAP from the all-time high is coming in right in at that value area low of the current range. And then when we start pulling up some of our bigger levels of resistance, no weeklies, we have a monthly up here, which is a massive horizontal from a higher time frame. We have a daily MPOC. We have a weekly MPOC, and you can start to see all of this resistance develop, right? Monthly level, nothing to scoff at. Weekly MPOC, nothing to scoff at. And, all this resistance, anchored VWAP from the all-time high, massive level of resistance, right? So even if this bounce does continue from here, I hope, right? I pray that this is the bottom, right? And we can flip that $115,500 level of a resistance to support. This would indicate maybe we can fill the range, but this is a huge level, guys. I'm going to be looking for shorts up here, right? So with every key level of resistance comes a level that, if flipped, can turn you a little bit more bullish, right? And then you also have a decent amount of confluence sitting at your, all up here between the POC and the value area high. You have a daily MPOC, the point of control, the range, a weekly level, the value area high. You have a and you have a monthly MPOC in here as well, right? Like, even if I took everything else off the chart and we're just looking at horizontal levels, guys, like, this is a huge plethora, as some people say, of resistance, right? So I would not be surprised. This could be an area where we can look for that lower high and the lower low. And it all depends on if we come up first or down first, obviously. Context will change. But just to show you guys, like, huge level of resistance and huge level of support. We have to break this, and if we come up here, I'm looking for lower highs. If we break it, then cool. We can look to go up to the POC, but even then, right, like, you just still have a ton of resistance up here. I would say, from my perspective, this is a much bigger level of resistance than the POC value area high, but, it is still resistance nonetheless, right? So even if we get the bigger pull up from here, right, next target for me to the upside would be that 114 to 115K zone. But that does not mean that we're off to the races, in my opinion, right? We got to get inside this volume profile, and then you just still got to fight all this resistance. And when we pull our macro Fibonacci retracement from the high all the way to the low, you can see golden pocket is confluent with the POC, right? You can just see all the clutter in here, right? Like, this is stuff that you have to push through. It's like when you're walking through the woods. I don't know where this example came from. It's like when you're walking through the woods in, like, thick brush. You got to push through that. You got thorn bushes trying to hold you back. You got to, like, push through it, and it hurts, right? So, biggest level of resistance, and then up here you have the ton of confluence here on the POC, golden pocket retracement, still an opportunity to put in a lower high and a lower low. As a matter of fact, this would be a very high probability area for that to happen. I just don't know if you're going to be able to get up there through this major level of resistance. But the golden pocket sits right on the POC, and then your 786 sits right on the value area high. In my opinion, it's not until you get above that POC 115K zone is really the big level. But, like, until we get above this POC and above that 786, it's going to be really hard for me to say, like, especially if money flow is continuing out. Right? If we get up here and money flow is cranking back into the green, well, then, hey, maybe the sentiment's a little, hey, we flipped the value area low. Money flow looks really good. I think we're above we're through the thick of it. I think we can push up higher. Then I'll say that. But there's nothing. I can't say that until we get up here, right? I don't have any information to base that off of. But if we get up there and money flow is continuing out and we get above this value area low, right? We push up here and money flow is coming out. Well, we definitely still have to be aware of the lower high and the lower low coming in. And if we come back here to 2024 when that happened, right? If you pull your full golden pocket, from the high all the way to the low here, right? It would have been kind of the same thing, right? We had a ton of resistance here near the value area low and the POC. And then technically the doorway to higher prices is up here, but we never even made it up there, right? It's very similar to the golden pocket 786 up here. I don't know if we're going to even be able to make it up there. But I just like to have you guys prepared with those levels in case you do get some kind of a quick pump. So just to show you guys, there's so much resistance above us. And if we break down below that 786, you're below that, right? You're going to have all the resistance over here to get above. So we really got to get going here from these levels is my point. So that's what I'm looking at. 113.8 up to about 115.650 is going to be that major level of resistance where I'll personally be looking for shorts with the premium Discord for the next big positions, right? And then at that point, right, we're probably, if things look bearish up there, taking profits on the long position from down here at the bottom. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm looking at, right? It kind of stinks, guys, with those bearish divergences and this money flow coming out, right? And I know a lot of people might be like, no, up only, right? And I wish I could say that, right? But, a lot of people wanted that here as well. And what wound up happening? Lower highs and lower lows. And, I would rather be right, than get what I want to play out. Because, obviously I know a lot of people watch this and a lot of people, take my TA into consideration, right? So just to show, right, like it does typically play out. But if we got above those key levels that we had up here at this time, then we could change our sentiment. But right now, I'm definitely going to say Bitcoin is starting to look weak on the higher time frames. So if we don't start getting the party started here very soon, it could be a very bearish look, especially if we lose that 786, which, by the way, I talked about the confluence down there. And I will just kind of bring this up real quick, just show you guys, pull up that lower volume profile, right? Locally, let me get the bull market support band off, hide some of this stuff so it's not super, super confusing. If we do wind up losing that golden pocket, the last line of defense is that 786, where we do have some confluence, right? It's the value area low of the local range, the 786. You also have a monthly MPOC, and you also have a daily MPOC, right? So there is confluence down there. You just got to be really careful on that bounce, as we've covered before, right? I would be looking for a POC to be the first target. If we get above that, value area high is the next target. But again, if money flow is coming out, I can't really say there's a super high probability if money flow is coming out that's just going to send it to new all-time highs. I'm still going to be looking for lower highs and lower lows. So, I love to come up here and say, new all-time highs is coming. And I do that when it's on the charts. We said that down here at $75,000. We said that down here. We said that even down here. Right? And we did see that happen every single time. But right now, the charts are not necessarily pointing towards that on the higher time frame. So there is weakness here showing on the higher time frames. And, that's why. The whole point of this stream is to show you guys why this is such a key level of support to hold. I don't just bring this in. I don't just say, massive critical level to, do clickbait, right? This is for a very specific reason. And hopefully showing you guys all that confluence, showing you the money flow, and showing you kind of the context of the situation, why this is so important. So not super bearish just yet. We see the weakness on the higher time frames, but we're still holding on top of these key levels. So I'm going to come into chat. I've kind of been neglecting you guys because we had a lot to look at here. And we'll see if this local pullback off this weekly MPOC Golden Pocket 786 continues as well. But let me jump on into chat. Let's see. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob in the chat. What is going on, bro? Welcome in. We got CandleMafia Mama, Captain Kirk in the chat. What is going on? Welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Good. We got the mods in here. We need some backup because Tony is he is at a wedding very, 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 very far away. So shout out to Tony T. I hope he's having a good time. But I gave him some time off, guys. We gave him some time off. He deserves it. He's still texting me like, hey, bro, you need something? Shout out to Tony D. He's the GOAT. But thank you guys for being here. Shout out to Captain and Rob and Tyler and Chemistry Bro. I'm not sure who else is in here, but thank you guys for being here. Show the mods some love in the chat. But let's see here. Yes, shout out to New Earth Guardian said, y'all know they're going to likely smash through it to take that downside liquidity. Lol, shout out to New Earth Guardian. I'm going to take a look at the liquidity heat maps with you guys. Talk about some potentially sketchy moves back down to the lows. But I am personally, like I said on my long position here, as I pointed out, right, there is no stop loss here, and that is for a very specific reason. I'm going to walk you guys through why that is. So yeah, but there is, if we take a look at the liquidation heat maps, there is a lot of liquidity still sitting below here. And in the Discord, let me see if I could, if I have this pulled up. Let me just find this real quick. In the premium Discord, right? Like I said last week, we were looking for another flush of those lows with an SFP with some 4-hour bullish divergences to get us that push to the upside. And we're pretty much at that, local TP that we were looking at. But it was not a very big SFP. We didn't really take a lot of the liquidity down there. We kind of just like tapped in and dipped, right? You can see we did not really break that golden pocket very much. We got a very local SFP of the low and that 4-hour bullish divergence with the lower lows on our price action, the higher lows on our momentum waves, and obviously that is playing out very nicely as of right now. But the fact that we got a very small SFP here, we do still have a lot of liquidity sitting underneath us, right, which we have to be very, 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 very careful about. I'm going to show you this on the actual liquidation heat map so you guys can get an idea of what we're looking at. You can see here, just below that 107K level, we still have a giant chunk of liquidity sitting down there, right? When we swept there, like, we didn't really take much of the liquidity. So we still have a bunch sitting down there. So if we do get a move down there, me personally, right, for the Discord, I was explaining to them, like, hey, if you're happy with that trade, you could take profits up here, move your stop loss to break even. If you come back down, cool, you made some money and you can look for a new trade. But I am potentially looking to add to my long position if we could come down there and sweep out the rest of that liquidity. But it has to be a liquidity sweep, right? We can't get stuck under this golden pocket, because in that case, we're going to be looking down towards the value area low 786, in which case I will stop out of the position, right? But if we do come back down, I might be interested in potentially adding to my position on that SFP for maybe then getting the bigger move to the upside. So that's why I don't have a stop loss set on that trade, just to walk you guys through that, right? I'm sure a lot of people are curious, like, how do you manage the trades? Like, and some people might see that and be like, you don't have a stop loss set, sir. Well, that's for a very specific reason, right? But for a day trade, this is enough to take profit, or maybe even just close the whole trade, right? Maybe a little $2,000 or $1,600, not too bad. But I am very suspicious because of that liquidity sitting down here that we might be able to go sweep that low one more time. So yeah, I will potentially add to that position. If we start losing this level, we cannot regain it, right? We break $106,000. I'll stop out of that position, in which case we'll look down towards that next confluent area for some more bounces. So definitely a reason to look for them to take the lows again. Shout out to, I forgot who said it, but shout out to you. New Earth Guardian, I think, said it. Let's see. Shout out to Jesse in the chat. Welcome in, bro. Welcome in. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything here in the chat, guys. I will take a look at some of the altcoins as well. We'll take a look at Ethereum, obviously. Oh, God. Shout out to Eugene Sky. Says, incredible, but Kramer is bullish. Oh, God. That's never a good sign. That's never a good sign. I try to give Kramer a break, man. That poor guy. I've heard on podcasts of people who know him personally that he's actually just turned into a meme. He's actually apparently was a very, very good investor. But, I mean, if you look at his calls, I mean, they're pretty crazy. Like, they're pretty inverse to what happens, which is wild. Shout out to Olgar. Says, Frankie, does the fact that a lot of whales are buying large sums of Bitcoin and ETH incline you to be bullish? Shout out to Olgar. It's honestly, for me personally, I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it doesn't mean anything, but I pay attention to the charts, right? Like, that's not something that would just like totally step on the TA for me. So me personally, I don't really take it into account too much. Again, I'm not saying that you can't look at that or it doesn't work. It's just not something I pay attention to, because there's been times where the charts look bearish and everyone's screaming, right? Like, oh my God, but the whales are buying. This whale just moved this here. They just did this. And it just doesn't matter in a lot of cases, right? I don't want to say every time. So I just stick to the charts, right? And if the charts are wrong, I'm ready. I understand the charts aren't going to play out 100% of the time, right? So I'd just rather be wrong because of the TA rather than something a whale is doing on the back end, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Shout out to Borpato, said false information. He said he's bearish on September. Shout out to Borpato. Interesting. Can we get an official Jim Cramer sentiment? Can somebody double check that? Let's see. Yeah, September is bearish. It's the same over and over again. Yeah, typically Septembers are bearish, so it does make sense. And on top of that, right, the charts are pointing towards that as well. Monthly bearish divergence, 2-week bearish divergence, money flow coming on the daily, right? So it is definitely not a it's not something we haven't seen in the past, right? So yeah, I'm just trying to let me come back here to our other price action that we just looked at. I'm just coming back to, yeah, like even back here, September. Yeah, I do think the statistic is Septembers are typically bearish. Doesn't mean it's going to happen every single time, but yeah, I do believe that is the case. So take that for what it's worth. I did see Kramer say that. Shout out to Base Bailey. He's bullish or bearish? Let me know. I know. Shout out to JS Stack says, I have noticed often when Sailor is buying a decent bag, we usually dip a little after. Yeah, he is not concerned about buying tops. He's so open about that. He's like, I will buy the top of Bitcoin every single time. He's got a long-term plan. Maybe he'll get wrecked. Who knows? But I do think it's funny, right? Like people always like clown on these people, and it's like, I don't know. He's the one with billions of dollars. Now, it doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to be the best trader, a genius and right every single time. But yeah, I mean, I kind of get his idea. Shout out to Indian Martini says, hey, Frankie, not sure about a strategy for taking profits on the longer-term swing trades. I have a 10x long on Link from back at 18.3. Stop loss is already set well into profit at 20. Took some profits at 26. Shout out to India Martini. Well, it sounds like you're taking profit, right? So I wouldn't say you have no profit-taking strategy, but you do want to make sure, for me personally, right, my profit-taking strategies are based off key levels, right? So within the volume profile, typically my first take profit, for example, if I were to say I were here to short the deviation above the value area high, which is not why I'm short. I am in a little bit of a hedge short position here locally with the premium Discord. Looked at as more of like a day trade or scalp trade. But, and also the fact that I am not holding any shorts here. And with the way Bitcoin looks, I just don't want to get caught not in a short position. So I'm happy to get stopped out at a small loss here, especially because I'm covered with the bigger long position. But let's just say, for example, I were to short this value area high, right? My first take profit typically is going to be the POC, right? That gives me a well-defined take profit because I know once I get into my short position, I get below this value area high. It's very high probability that the POC gets tapped. At that point, I could take some profit off the table, move my stop loss to break even. And hey, if we fill the range, which is typically a very high probability move, well, I could continue to profit on my trade, right, and then take a second take profit at the value area low, which is typically where I'm looking to take longs, right? So for the most part, I'm either closing the entire position or I have two major take profits taken, stop loss and profit. If it dumps, I continue to make money. If I stop out, I've already taken two TPs, right? So that's kind of like, for me personally, on a volume profile trade, that's kind of what I look at because I'm taking profits at technical levels. But, I mean, hey, you're taking profits, bro. Even if you're just randomly being like, hey, I got some money, I'm going to take it off the table. That is some form of profit-taking strategy. So shout out to you, man. Shout out to Perry, said bear div on the XRP weekly chart. Yeah, shout out to Perry. A lot of the altcoins are going to be showing similar signals as Bitcoin, so I'll take a look at that for you. But yeah, very likely that will be the case. Wake me up when September ends. Shout out to Sam Berger. Actually, funny enough, it is. I've heard now that I think about it, everybody always says that in the chat during September, which makes sense that we usually dump in September. Shout out to Sam Berger, bro. Let's see. Eventually, just buying as much Bitcoin as possible isn't going to work out as well. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your plan here. I mean, a lot of people just make the argument of like, hey, if you bought every top of Bitcoin, you're in profit, right? Which is true, right? You can't really argue against that. If you bought this top, you're in profit next cycle. Buy this top, you're in profit next cycle. Bought this top, you're in profit the next cycle, right? So, it's definitely the worst time to dollar cost. If you just buy the top, your dollar cost averaging into an asset that trends up over time. Sure. Are you getting the best entries? Absolutely not. And, honestly, with Bitcoin, such predictable 4-year cycles like this, it's, you're much better just waiting for the bear markets, not FOMOing at the top. But hey, who am I? Sailor's got billions and billions of dollars. But anyway, shout out to Current Wave, said H-Bar is on Robinhood now. Rip it. Hey, shout out to Current Wave. Maybe we'll take a look at H-Bar in a second. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob, said, bro. Shout out to Rob. Hit me, bro. You got my attention. That looks like an emergency, bro. Are we muted? Oh, my God. No, we're not muted. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. Frankie, 12 and 16-hour green dots. All right, why did I say that? It's not what the message says. Frankie, 12, 16-hour, 2-day, has money flow in the green. yet you concentrate on the daily being in the red. Why? Shout out to Olgar. Yeah, someone asked that exact question on the premium Discord, and I'll give you the same answer I gave them. Could the 12 and 16-hour money flow crossing over into the green indicate that the daily money flow crossover into the red is a fake out? Potentially, right? Maybe, right? And this is oftentimes what I look at, right? Like when you have a money flow crossover on a higher time frame, obviously the lower time frames are going to cross over before the higher time frame. So yes, sometimes the 12 and the 16 hour can indicate, right, these are crossing back into the green. Maybe that indicates that this daily money flow crossover is a fake out. I can't trade based off the anticipation of a fake out unless I am super confident on it. And there's been one time in the recent history that I've done that successfully, and it was back here, right, where we had the fake out into the red. But we are in a different spot right now. It's not the same situation. And another reason there is it's not just the daily money flow, right? It's also the monthly bearish divergence. It's also the 2-week bearish divergence. It's also the massive resistance that's above us. So it doesn't mean that that's impossible, but it is, I wouldn't just say super likely just because the 12 and 16-hour money flow is crossing into the green that it's going to give us a massive trend to the upside when you have a lot of other much higher time frames flashing more bearish signals, right? It doesn't mean that that 12 and 16-hour money flow can't continue us up to some of these higher prices, 115, 116. Hey, maybe even the golden pocket 786 between 118.3 and, you know, up towards the value area high. But if the daily money flow is still coming out, if the bear divs are still there, right, like that could change your sentiment. But that's my reasoning, right? You have the monthly bear div, you have the 2-week bear div, you have the daily money flow coming out. So, you know, do I hope that the 12 and 16-hour money flow is an indication of the fake out? Absolutely. I pray, right? Because, you know, when we take a look at these massive key levels of support and we talk about the importance of holding these levels, right, you're kind of hoping for that, right? And not only hoping for it, you kind of need it. Right? If you just want to yeet on out here into new all-time highs, right, you need all that money flow to fake out. You need that bear div to get completely invalidated. So that's my reasoning, right? We already looked at this, and you know, I would still say, right, like that it doesn't just trump the daily money flow. It doesn't just trump the 2-week bear div. It doesn't just trump the monthly bear div. But you know, hopefully it does, right? You know, I'm wishing for price to go up as much as anybody else, right? I'm just trying to translate the charts to you guys as simply as possible. So there is a rhyme or reason to that. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe if that 16-hour money flow continues up and we get some kind of shocker rip here and we push through this resistance, no problem, and daily money flow comes back into the green, maybe the monthly red dot disappears and that bear div's potentially invalidated, then maybe we can look for a move up, but it's too soon to call for that. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out. Shout out to Olgar. Great question. Oh, yo, shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob, said 80K subs. Yes. I'll talk about this at the end of the stream, guys. Shout out to the CandleMafia, guys. We finally hit 80,000 subs. Insane. It's actually funny how life works. I was actually on the plane ride back from the wedding that I was at. Tony has like 3 weddings. Tony left one wedding to go to another wedding. I came back to the studio, but I didn't get invited to the other one. Unbelievable. I would have given financial advice. I would have been useful there. I'm just kidding. I'm not a financial advisor, guys. But I was sitting on the plane, and I'm just like, man, I wonder if we're ever going to hit 80K subs. And I was like, kind of like, oh, man, like, we got to do something. We got to push the subs more. And I literally landed, and I get my Uber, and I get a text message from Tony. He's like, congrats on 80K, bro. And so shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. 100K on the way, Captain Kirk says. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. I say this every time we hit a milestone on YouTube. If you told me 5-6 years ago that I would even have a YouTube channel, I would call you crazy. And if you told me I would have 80,000 people watching my YouTube channel, I would literally not believe you. It's the coolest feeling in the world. Sometimes I don't believe it. I'm extremely, extremely grateful to the Mafia. Thank you for getting us there, guys. 100K subs on the way. And when we hit 100K subs, guys, we're going to do something huge. I'm going to do some kind of like gigantic giveaway. I don't know, maybe a 24-hour stream. We'll do something insane. Maybe we'll do like a subathon where I just go live, and every time the subscriber goes over like 50, we get 50 subs. I have to reset the timer or something like that. I don't know, but it's the coolest thing in the world, guys. I wake up in the morning sometimes and have to pinch myself. Thank you. Insane. 80K subs, baby. Let's go. Shout out to the Mafia. I appreciate you guys so much. And yeah, I'm going to take a look at ETH in just a second. And, you know, it is funny, guys, you know, to be like just transparent with you guys. My life, you know, I was always, and I'm not saying this like getting 80K subs on YouTube is like the pinnacle of life or anything. And I want this to sound like braggy in any way, shape, or form. It's like the opposite of my personality. But I just want to point out, guys, that there was and you know this, I've said this so many times, you know, I was always the person in my family, in my friend group that like everyone was kind of worried about because I was always trying to like start a business or trade. I was always trying to go off the path, right? I didn't want to follow the traditional path, and everyone was super worried about me. And it gave me a chip on my shoulder to like work as hard as I could, and it was either like be successful or die. And you know, I always anticipated this like this boxer winning a boxing match moment where it's like you hit this milestone and everybody claps for you and everybody cheers for you, and it never comes. And I thought to myself, it's like, you know, your friends, like, they celebrate it, but like no one really cares. Everyone's living their own life, and it does get somewhat like, you know, where's the applause? And I thought to myself, the Mafia is the crowd cheering. And, you know, I see you guys saying congratulations. I appreciate you all so much. Every time we get someone to chat, I made money. Thank you for teaching me TA. You're helping me learn. You're helping me lose less trades. You're helping me win more trades. You're helping me make more money. That is the crowd cheering. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, of course, it's the Mafia. You guys are the ones cheering. And I'm not going to draw this out. I'm going to get into ETH right now. But I just want to say, guys, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot be more grateful for the community that we've built here, giving me the opportunity to share my journey with you guys. And moreover that, to help you guys through your journey and expedite your process and teach you guys how to trade, how to do the TA, and how to take better trades and make more money. So shout out to the Mafia, guys. I literally cannot be more grateful. It's insane. Like I said, it is... I don't know. It's insane. I sometimes I can't believe it. So shout out to you guys. Thank you for 80K, 100K incoming. And let's go ahead and check out Ethereum. So on ETH, guys, again, I'm not going to cover the alts too much today, as I haven't really been recently, just because it's all going to be tied together. But as we looked at Ethereum last week, right, we were inside this volume profile talking about the continuation down towards the POC, right? We talked about, I'll pull up a lower time frame here. We took a look at the acceptance into the range, right? We front ran the POC, bearish retest, right? And then as you're seeing that bearish retest, we see the money flow crossing over into the red. What does this indicate to us, right? You can see that money flow crossing over into the red in all of its glory. What does that mean? Well, hey, lower highs, lower lows are likely to come. And the target being the POC, we've got the bounce off the POC, but even then, right, you're looking at all your money flow pretty much trending to the downside, 3-hour money flow in the red, looking for lower highs, lower lows. If we break this POC, kind of a simple plan here on Ethereum, break the POC, where are we looking? Somebody put it in the chat. Kind of outlined it a little bit. Yeah, we'll be looking down towards that value area low, guys. We lose that POC. You know, I'll be looking for the fulfill that volume profile down to the value area low. This is probably in the case that Bitcoin comes back down to sweep its lows again as well. This is local support. And to be honest, Ethereum's in a bit of a different situation, right? We have the fresh weekly money flow crossover into the green. This is more indicative of a continued breakout here, right? Pushing into much higher targets, in my opinion. Is that guaranteed? No, right? But the weekly money flow would indicate that. So you got the red dot on the weekly, right? Could indicate more downside. That was another big bias on why we were looking for lower highs and lower lows. You have the weekly high time frame red dot. You have the lower time frame money flow continuing to the downside, indicating the trend would continue down. Now, if we take a look at the 2-week red dot also looking to print. So I would still not be shocked if we get another continuation to the downside here. But if we do wind up, right, just to give you these levels, value area low sitting at 41.36. If we're unable to hold this level of support, guys, if we're not able to come down here, hit the value area low, get some bullish confirmations to fill the range again, and then potentially continue up, if we lose that range, right, I am simply going to be looking down to the big level of support we've been looking at forever. Now, we do still have this honorable mention here of the previous range that we've been looking at from the all-time high, with the value area low sitting at about 39.29. So you could potentially look at that underneath here. 39.29 is like just below. But at the end of the day, you know, if we wind up losing that range, which, you know, honestly wouldn't be that impossible to me. But, you know, biggest level to look at here on the chart, in my opinion, is going to be that previous value area high coming in at 35.34, right? Now, not only is this your value area high of the macro range, it is also very confluent. We looked at this on Friday. Very confluent with the bull market support band. If we work our way down there, guys, it is very likely that that bull market support band will be wiggling its way up, and maybe come confluent with that value area high. This is a huge level of support. And honestly, regardless of the bull market support band, I would say this value area high is a big level you don't want to lose, right? Because it would be a lot healthier to bounce off this value area high to continue your uptrend rather than having to break back down into your value area, potentially open up the door to fill the range in full, right? It doesn't guarantee that you have to just fill the range in full, but at that point, you have to view the market from that perspective, right? And at that point, what is the high time frame money flow doing? Is the weekly money flow back in the red? So I would just much prefer to hold on top of this value area high, to be quite honest with you. So that's what I'm looking at. I mean, you have the confluence there. If we have to deal with it, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. There is confluence, and I'm going to redo a new ETH chart here. I think I do have weekly MPOCs. I don't know. Actually, I'll just pull them up. Raw right here. Oh, that's a gross word, isn't it? Raw. No weekly MPOCs, at least on TradingView. The closest one is sitting at about 39, basically at the value area low of this range at about $3,900. Below that, there's not much here. Monthly MPOCs, nothing in there. Daily MPOCs, you do have. Come on. There we go. So you have a ton of MPOCs here. And again, right, from like a Fibonacci perspective, right, you still have your golden pocket sitting up there. This is a level that we have been looking at for a while, but now that we're so far away, I've kind of ignored it just because we have support above that now, right? So, me personally, I just really don't want to break down here. Could you push back down into the golden pocket and then break out? Yes. But it's that same situation as Bitcoin hitting the 786, right? It's like, well, hey, now if money flow is coming out, you're at risk of getting accepted in here and continuing down through the profile. So I really don't want to lose this. I wouldn't say it's all over if you lose it, but I just prefer to hold on top of this. And I've compared this to the Bitcoin chart so many times where when Bitcoin, I still have it here on the chart, right, broke above its macro 786. This is the same 786 on Ethereum. It's pulled from the all-time high of 2021 all the way to the all-time low of 2022, right? So once you break above that, it's like, well, hey, if you're going to be looking for macro lower highs and then lower lows, which we were not looking at, I don't know why you would look at that, but that would be the area for it to get put in, right? But once you flip that 786, typically it's the doorway to higher prices. In this case, all-time highs. The same thing on Ethereum. The same exact thing. Fib pulled from the high all the way to the low. 786, smack down, smack down, smack down. Now we're above it. It does not mean you can't lose it again, though, because if we look at Bitcoin, right, you've seen you play around on that 786, boom, boom, and then you come back down to retest what? The macro value area high. That is the same level that we're looking at here on Ethereum, the macro value area high, sitting at 35.30. So there you go. That's pretty much what I got on ETH, right? Low time frame, I would say, same sentiment as Bitcoin for the most part, right? Take a look at the daily. Daily money flow is continuing to the downside. So this is much further away from the zero line. So I would say it looks healthier than Bitcoin in my personal opinion. But it is technically trending out here. So you do have to still be careful. Take a look at the 4-hour. 4-hour money flow in the red. And yeah, whether you want to look at this more local range with the value area low at 41.38 or this bigger range with the value area low at 39.34. Two valid ranges, right? If you don't hold that local value area low, you could just simply look down towards the bigger value area low. And then once you break down below that, well, hey, maybe you're going back down for that range high retest. If you break below it, well, we'll have to reassess the situation because that would be a little bit more bearish in my opinion. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking at on Ethereum or Erythrium, as your grandmother might call it. Let's see. Oh, yo, hey, shout out to Randy Hipper in the chat. What is going on, Randy? Welcome in. Thank you for the super chat. Happy 80K subs. Let's go. Randy, I'm a big boy now. Shout out to Randy. What is going on? Welcome in. Shout out to Randy. If you guys are not following Randy, I don't know what you are doing. Go subscribe to her channel. What is going on, Randy? I hope you're doing well. And good to see you in here. Shout out to Randy. Let's go. And an extra mod. We're short a Tony D. So we got Randy in here now. Shout out to Randy. Let's go. Let's see. H-bar. Yeah, we could take a look at H-bar and Solana. I'll jump into some of these right now. Shout out to Laser says, oh, dang. Randy in the house. Let's go. Smash the like button for Randy. If you guys don't want to smash your like button for the free value, smash it for Randy. Let's go. This community is the best. Shout out to Seth Shepard. Absolutely. We're feeling the love tonight, baby. What is that song? I'm going to have to play it. Feeling love tonight. Oh. Anyway, let's continue on. All right, let's take a quick look at Solana or Solanzo, as your grandmother might call it. And look at that. The fib is still sitting here, guys, getting support on the golden pocket. This is the level that we looked at yesterday. If I can I'll be honest, I didn't look at Solana today. But here's that golden pocket pulled from the low to the high. If you're looking for aggressive higher lows for potential higher highs into your macro golden pocket, which would be the next target, sitting between 218 and 225, this will be the level to hold. Golden pocket 786, and we are currently holding that golden pocket, which is very nice. And I would assume that you had some kind of bull divs down here as well. Yeah, 1 hour bull div, not too shabby, into your golden pocket, flip it to support. So I would say as long as you hold above this golden pocket 786, could potentially continue your trend to the upside, right? What were we looking at previously? Well, come on. Your golden pocket 786 right here was the area to look for the higher low and the higher high for the break structure of the upside. It's the same thing here. Looking for the break structure of the upside. 1 hour money flow is attempting to come up here, which is not too bad. Let's check the 16 hour. 16 hour green dot printing. So I would say if you're going to continue up here and start pushing up towards the 216.90 POC and potentially the golden pocket sitting here between 218.80 and 225.42, I would say that 1 hour money flow crossover would be the thing to look at. But you do have a red dot incoming, so you got to wait for that. See if that, I would say if you're going to continue up here, that 1 hour money flow crossover would be the indication to continue that move to the upside. Right? It's that market cipher B 116 strategy. Green dot on the 16 hour with a 1 hour money flow crossover into the green at the same time typically indicates continuation up, at least based off the 1 hour money flow, right? This wouldn't trump anything if, if the daily money flow was crossing into the red, well, that wouldn't trump that, right? It would just, we'd still be looking for lower highs and lower lows, but it does look different here on Solana. So we'll see if we can get that green dot on the daily. Check that 90-minute money flow as well. 90-minute money flow creeping up on top of that. So that's another market cipher B 116 strategy that you can look for. So yeah, if you get the daily green dot, 90-minute money flow crossover would indicate the trend will continue to the upside. And I would target between, again, the golden pocket 219 to about 225.34. And then above that, right, you have to remember, you're also, I'll just delete this stuff real quick, right? You're also, well, let me keep the POC in there, right? You're also just within your volume profile, right? You get above the low, front run the POC, but you stay in your range. POC acts as a magnet. Target number 1 tapped. Could be a messy, confusing journey, right? But eventually, as long as you hold above the value area low at 183.62, you have the opportunity to get above that POC and push into the value area high. And that sits at about 238. That would be like a longer-term target, as long as you could stay within the range. But when we break down the lower time frames to try to identify like what that journey will be like, that's when you look at that lower time frame money flow with the high time frame green dots and these local fibs. Lose that 786, I'll be honest, I'll be looking down towards the value area low. If we lose the value area low, same levels of support as last week. We have the liquidity sitting down here at about $174. I almost said 1,000. 174.71, and you have the daily confluence on that as well. If you lose that, you have your 786, which is, I don't know if that anchor VWAP is going to be confluent if we come all the way back down here, but you have the value area high, the 786, and right now the anchored VWAP, but I would assume that's going to be different if we get all the way down there. So yeah, that's what I'd look at on Solana. I actually don't hate that 90-minute money flow crossover. Bitcoin's already gotten the crossover with the daily green dot confirmed yesterday, which has given us a move up. But on Bitcoin, it looks different, right? Because your money flow is crossing over into the red. Hopefully it's a fake out, guys. We're just praying for the fake out. If you want to rip up from here, I mean, I'm happy. I'm long from the bottom, right? But you're praying for that fake out, to be honest. And you're praying that the monthly bear div, the 2-week bear div just gets invalidated, which I don't know what the probability on that would be, to be quite honest. Let's see. Yo, shout out to Jay Violet. Let's go, baby. Let's go, Jay Violet. Come on, baby. Shout out to Jay Violet. Thank you for gifting those memberships. Let's go. Show Jay Violet some love in the chat if you got gifted a membership. Borpato with the membership. Danny G with the membership. Norway with the membership. And Ansel with the membership. Show Jay Violet some love in the chat. Let's go. All right, let's see. XRP looks about like it's about to test $3.10. Shout out to 12 Big. We will take a look at XRP as well. So we got Solana, ETH, Solana. Let's take a look at XRP. Actually, take a look at the. Well, look at this. Shout out to the liquidity, not liquidity, but the liquidity. We have the 2 liquidations down here, right, or 2 zones of liquidations, right? We have this wick for potential SFP, had this wick for a potential SFP, and we actually did come down and get the SFP, which is very nice, right? If we looked at the heat map, I don't remember exactly when we did this. I assume probably where this trend line ends maybe. But we've identified that we had liquidity sitting down there, so I marked off those liquidations with these nice little lines. Licks. We had licks down here, licks down here. You took out these licks, and then you took out these licks, and now we're getting the bounce from there, which is very nice to see. Let's take a look at the, yeah, you even got like a nice little 10-hour bull div here. Lower lows on your price action, higher lows on your momentum waves, probably a 4-hour bull div as well. Yeah, very similar to Bitcoin, right? Where we were also looking for the sweep of liquidity. But again, very shallow SFP here. I really like to see those bigger wicks. I would say on XRP, yeah, it looks a little bit better. You know, a little bit of a bigger, healthier wick down there. And actually 2 SFPs. Sweep it, and now we're pushing. Not too shabby. So that's like one of the highest probability trade setups you can get, guys, right? Like if you have liquidity sitting here and you're looking for an SFP, these SFPs are some of the highest probability, best risk to reward trades you can take, even if it doesn't play out in a big way. Right? It's like very high probability. Maybe this is a bad example because you SFP'd twice. I wouldn't even say that common. But the reason this is so high probability is because it's such a clear signal. Right, you're looking for the wick down below and the closure above that level. At that point, the continuation up is very likely, right? More often than not. And even here, right, if you took that first SFP, if you take that first SFP, it's like you still get a pretty significant move up, right? A nice little 4% move to the upside, right? So, and then the stop loss is also very defined as well, which would be just below the SFP wick, which you would have gotten stopped out of if you didn't close the trade up here. But more often than not, you will just get that one SFP. And even here, right, SFP. Wow. I guess XRP maybe likes to get multiple wick SFPs. Wick, push up. But this is obviously the bigger level, right? You're always looking to take that lowest low is usually the best place to look for that SFP, in my opinion. Not financial advice. But yeah, it's actually beautiful that we saw that happen because that was exactly what we were looking at for a potential bounce. The only thing I don't love down here is the fact that, yeah, I mean, you have your daily level. Did you have a weekly level down there as well? Yeah, you didn't have a weekly level. Did you have any MPOCs down there? Yeah, that's the only thing. Like, you didn't really have any daily SFP, daily MPOCs. You didn't have any weekly MPOCs, no monthly MPOCs. So there's just like lack of confluence there. Which makes me think that maybe it's not going to be the strongest bounce. Very nice to see the bounce off the SFP. But, yeah, just not a ton of confluence down there as far as support goes. But if we pull up our other XRP chart, you guys can see here, this is also the golden pocket, which I never really anticipate to be super strong support on a second, third, or fourth touch, right? If you're looking for a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high, typically you'll see that happen on the first tap. We've already tapped that all the way back here in early August, right? You get the second tap, but it was lackluster for continuation down. Lackluster, continuation down. So I just don't know, right? I will still stand on that. You know, it's not that you can't bounce off this level for a big monster move, but it's just not a huge. It's like this level's already tapped so many times, and the more times you knock on a door, the more likely it is to open. Which leads me to the next key level of support. If you do not hold off this SFP, the sweep of liquidity, and hold the golden pocket, right? The 250 to 260 zone is still the big level to look at, in my opinion. All right, it's a value area high, very similar to Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? You don't want to get stuck under this level because that opens the door to come deeper into the profile. So that's still the next biggest level of support if we don't hold this, which I would say is unlikely, but not impossible, right? If it holds, well, hey, that was one of the unlikely situations. But you're also now below your anchored VWAP here, so it's like you still got a lot to fight around. And then taking a look at the weekly, you have the weekly bear div confirmed, higher highs on your price action into a key level of support, into the key level of support. Could indicate more downside. Take a look at the 2-week. 2-week bearish divergence is printing, right? This is here. I'm pointing it out. Can it invalidate? Sure. You know, if we were coming down to a massive level of support, which this golden pocket isn't, you know, I'd feel maybe better about a fake out. But you have the 2-week bear div. You even have the monthly bear div. And just the monthly red dot alone, right, typically indicates more downside. So, like even here, right, you get the monthly red dot. Sure, you didn't dump down to 0, but you did get a nice little wick down to about $1.57. So even just the red dot alone could be looked at as a bearish sign. And then when that's accompanied by your bearish divergence, makes it a little bit weaker, right? And then when it's also accompanied by a daily money flow crossover, I mean, at this point, from a daily perspective, I would still be looking for lower highs and lower lows. So what would the level for a lower high to be? Well, let's pull our fib here. I would say getting above this 786 at about 303 may be a big level to watch, right? Because if you're going to put in a lower high and a lower low, sure, you get the bounce here off the SFP and the daily green dot. But if you're looking for that money flow to put a lower high and a lower low, maybe it comes in here. Once you break that 786, right, well, then you can look up towards the POC and potentially the value area high. But until then, with money flow coming out, we have to be careful of that golden pocket 786. And even if you get above this, right, doesn't necessarily mean all-time highs, in my opinion, just yet. So, yeah, hopefully, I do hold a lot of XRP. So that would be very nice. But just trying to bring to you guys what we see on the charts here. But beautiful example of an SFP, and especially the daily SFP. It's just like nice. We had that liquidity sitting down there. I could try to pull it up on the heat maps here so I can kind of show you guys. Wish there was a way to just like very quickly pull up clips from the stream. So I could show exactly what we look for. Not to brag, but just to show like, hey, this is how TA works. Pull up the 1 week. And what was that low here? 273. $273. There's that liquidity. Sweep it. Send it back up. So there you go. All right. So we did XRP, Solana, Ethereum. Shout out to Skizzle. Said, Frankie, my wife left me. Was it the dump on Bitcoin? Why did she leave you? Joke's on her. We're bouncing again. Mrs. Candles leaves me every time we dump. And then I text her. I say, we're bouncing. She goes, okay, fine. I'll come back. Shout out to Mrs. Candles, and I'll inflate her back up. Let's see. H-bar. I'll take a look at H-bar. No problemo. Rob the Crypto said the bartender was like, bar closes in 10 minutes. Would you like a few shots before we close? Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. That's a good bartender right there. I said, do you have salt and lemon? I'm feeling tequila. Shout out to Rob the Crypto Snob. I am not a tequila guy. Tequila is, oof, I don't know what it is. I just can't get it down. It's just, I don't know what it is. My body, makes me nauseous. All right, let's continue on. Ada Link. Phoebe never leaves me. She understands Bitcoin is volatile. Shout out to K Diggity. Well, she is here at every single Frankie Candles live stream, so she's very familiar with the volatility. These are looking super clean. Money flow and alignment overall trends. I'm liking this. I'm liking this squad. Anyone need these? Render, Link, Sui, INJ, AVAC. Shout out to Baby Genius. All right, let's see. All right, let's jump into... let's take a look at H-bar. I got a bunch of people asking for H-bar. And H-bar holding its key level support as well, which is the 786. Kind of a random, I wouldn't say random, but it's pulled from this impulse to the high. All right, this is the level you want to hold. You got the anchored VWAP just above you, which we were hoping, ideally, you want to hold above the anchored VWAP and the 786, because now you have to fight that anchored VWAP on the way back up. But you're holding the 786. That's nice to see, right? This does keep the idea of a higher low in check here. But again, I don't know, money flow continuing to the downside. You are looking to print a green dot here. So again, I'm not saying you can't continue up. You just got to be careful for this to be like the pump, right? Hopefully it is. But it's just, I don't know, money flow would not be pointing towards that. So I would say daily green dot. Let's check your 90-minute money flow. So I would say locally, if you could watch that daily green dot with the 90-minute money flow crossover into the green, that 90-minute money flow crossover into the green might be the indication that maybe you can continue a little bit of a local trend to the upside, right? But the biggest levels of resistance to watch here on H-bar at this point, let me go ahead and hide the golden pocket. Yeah, I would say like once you flip that anchored VWAP, that's probably a very key level to flip. Got to get above the value area low. It's another very key level to flip. Once you hold inside that value area low, the doorway to the POC is open. But I would say in order to see that, you still got to... Yeah, I'm not going to get that perfect, but you could, you still got to get above this golden pocket 786 as well. Just pull it to here as well. Yeah, you got some work to do here, to be quite honest. But watch that value area low. Locally, I would say, shorter time frame, value area low 786 sitting right here. between 24 and 25 cents. That's your, just pull this one as well. Come on. Come on. Yeah. So I don't want to give too many levels here. I would say there's more confluence here on the value area low 786. So if you can get above that anchored VWAP with the 90-minute money flow crossing over into the green with the daily green dot, you might be able to continue that trend up. But this is going to be your big level of resistance. Let me go ahead and pull this anchored VWAP from the high. And you got your anchored VWAP up there as well. I was suspicious of that. So definitely a confluent level up here. So if you do continue up, maybe something like this. But again, when you look at the daily, right, you got to be careful of the lower highs and the lower lows. Could look something like this. Back down to this bigger level of support on your value area high, full golden pocket retracement, sitting between 20 cents and about 19 cents, 18.188. So yeah, I would say it's not until you break above that 786 that I would probably be looking for the bigger move up. I would be very careful of the lower high here on that value area low Fibonacci retracement. And then also I could pair this with some potential. You'd have a daily level up there as well, right? You got your daily right here, right? So it's another area of confluence. Or I shouldn't say area of confluence, but another level of confluence inside of that area. And if we take a look at the MPOCs, no daily MPOC. Yeah, you have a weekly MPOC direct right on this anchored VWAP. There's an anchored weekly MPOC right here. So like big zone number one, if you want the continuation of the local trend, you got to get above that anchored VWAP right now sitting at 22 cents. If you can hold that, maybe you can push up in here. And taking a look at the monthly MPOCs. Yeah, you have a monthly MPOC in there as well. So definitely, I would say the biggest level of resistance to get above on H-bar is going to be that zone right there. So value area low, daily horizontal, monthly MPOC, and your local Fibonacci retracement. So hold above the anchored VWAP. You could push in here, but this is massive resistance. And with the way daily money flow looks, definitely a probability, I would say a decent probability that that could be a lower high for a lower low down to your next key level. So that's what I look at on H-bar. So maybe some local upside. You just got to be careful on the way up, right? I would say I'm cautiously bullish on most things, right? Bitcoin hasn't broken the macro structure. A lot of this stuff is still at healthy levels, right? But you just got to be cautious on these moves to the upside. If we can fake out and get above them and push, that's great, but you got to be cautious, right? Because of the signals that we're seeing on the money flow. All right, let's see. Shout out to Skizzle, said the masculine urge to full port short into ETH just hit me. See you on the street of LA. See you on the streets of LA. It was nice to know you. Shout out to Skizzle. Short it to zero, baby. Let's go. All right. Let's see. TARS. We could try to take a look at TARS. Am I holding a lot of H-bar? Shout out to King James. No. Am I against holding a ton of H-bar? No. It's just not. It's not personally one of my biggest bags. It's not because I know all the secret gems to hold, and I don't hold that because I don't think it's a secret gem. I think H-bar will do good as long as everything does good. I think H-bar will do well. But I hold a ton of XRP, held a ton of Solana, a ton of Ethereum. A lot of my alt bags, right? Not saying I don't hold lower cap altcoins, but like a majority of my bigger bags are in the higher cap altcoins. And that's just the game that I play, right? Based off of my situation. That does not mean that's the game that you should play, right? I always say, like, if I have an uncle that has $1 million in retirement, like, I'm not going to tell him to put $1 million into a super low cap altcoin, right? I'm going to point him towards safer stuff, right? So I do hold a lot of altcoins, but a majority of my bags are in the higher caps and Bitcoin. Which, by the way, guys, a lot of people hate on that, right? And a lot of people hate on the fact that, like, I was very Bitcoin heavy, right? And obviously, I do hold a lot of alts as well, but that played out very well for me, right? Majority of my, I would say, like, most of my portfolio is in Bitcoin, and then I spread the rest out through the higher cap altcoins, and then I trickle down into the lower cap alts. But I'm very happy with that decision, right? Especially with, obviously this cycle's been very Bitcoin focused. I wound up playing out very well, right? And now I have plenty of profit to play around with when I take profit on my Bitcoin to roll into some other altcoins as well. So yeah. Shout out to Johnny December. Say, can we take a look at Ondo? Yes, we could take a look at Ondo. Shout out to Jedi Skirk. Says, offer up 5,000 in Sol. It ain't happening. Shout out to Jedi Skirk. I'm not 100% sure what that means. Okay, so I will take a look at TARS. Frankie will still get all-time high on XRP based on dominance or pass. Shout out to Perry. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't ever want to come off like just super bearish on everything, right? Again, like Bitcoin hasn't broken its macro structure, right? So like my long-term bullish bias like still has to stay in play, right? Like it's not even me that changes that decision. It's the break of the structure. So until that structure breaks, that we talked about in the beginning of the stream, right? I'm still going to remain bullish and keep that long-term bias, right? But again, when you see those warning signs potentially on the 2-week, the monthly, and the daily, you know, you have to start to question like, well, hey, what happens if we do go back down, right? Like let's talk about what the plan will be there, you know, from that point on. But, you know, dominance breaks down. 2-day money flow, all that money flow on dominance is still coming to the downside. This still looks bearish in my opinion, right? Which is good for altcoins. Rate cuts, 92% chance of rate cuts coming in September. We're in September in 14 days. Now, again, that doesn't necessarily have to be, oh my God, they cut rates. That's it. Everything is ripping. Sometimes it takes some time for that to play out. But I would just say overall, right, from a trend perspective, lower highs, lower lows is the more likely situation here. Why? Because of the money flow, right? This is what we look at, not just on the Bitcoin price chart, not just on the altcoin price charts, but also on dominance, right? We've covered this so many times. The 2-day money flow back here was the indication that the big breakdown would take place, and it did. And we're here, right? So, you know, you can get these green dots to give you little pushes up, but overall, the trend would be likely to continue to the downside based off your money flow. And now you have your 3-day money flow leaking out here. This 3-day money flow has been in the green for almost 1,000 days. Very similar to back here, right? And then you got a pretty nice drop on dominance, right? Money flow comes into the red, you're back in the green, and then that 3-day money flow crosses over, you get the big dump. So I would still say from a trend perspective, this still looks very weak, even if you get the retracements back up, right? Value very low would be a key level of resistance to look at about 61%. And then if you break back in here, you know, you still have this level's moving lower and lower as time goes on. But you know, even here, it wouldn't be until we broke above that 786 where I'd say, hey, you know, at that point, money flow is probably coming back up anyway. But at that point, it's like, hey, break above that 786. Yikes, you're above the POC. You know, maybe then you could look up towards the value area high. But until that happens, money flow is much more pointing towards something like that, right? For much bigger drops down on dominance. I don't think you're going to come back up here, personally. You know, if we do, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I would say this still looks very weak. I mean, just compare it to here, right? Like, go on the dominance chart, pull up Market Cipher, and just look at what happened back here. It's, you know, again, like one of the big reasons why I was not calling for alt season here was because money flow was in the green, right? We were flipping the value area low. That is bullish, right? Looking for moves up, not alt season, right? But here, there's an argument to be made that this looks weak, right? Just based off the charts. Shout out to Dab and Flow said, so the Bitcoin, with Bitcoin dominance breaking down, you feel it isn't smart to full port into some high cap alts. Shout out to Dab and Flow. I mean, it depends on your plan, right? Like, I would never recommend, like, I don't know everyone's experience level. Like, I would never recommend, like, full porting into an alt is fine as long as you understand that it might not just go up in a straight line from there. You know, what a lot of people do when they get into crypto is they find their altcoin. You know, someone told them about an altcoin. They just, like, buy that altcoin. They go all in, and they just expect it to explode right away. And then they endure pullbacks, right? And I always bring this up. I bring personal experiences into these live streams and share them with you guys because I don't just say this to say it, right? It's very, very, for a very specific reason, right? Back here, I was trying to stop every friend and family member that I have from full porting into XRP because I knew that it was very likely not just going to go up in a straight line, right? Bullish on XRP, new all-time high probably coming in, which I guess technically we saw in the most lackluster way so far. But they're like, oh, this is going up. Should I buy it, right? And, you know, I'm not saying you're buying these big pumps, right? I would say full porting in as the price is going down or at least as you're on a retracement is a much better situation, right? So you're not in the same situation there. But, you know, if you full port here, right, and you understand that, you know, there is a possibility, right, you could full port here And then you understand there's a possibility you can go down to 250, 260, or maybe even 230. If you're willing to endure that and you have a long enough time horizon and you've done your own research, right? Do your own research, please, for the love of God. I know these calls play out more often than they don't, but you have to do your own research, right? No one can just tell you when to buy a ton of altcoins and you're going to instantly be rich, right? So, you know, for me personally, if I had to full port here, I would understand that, like, well, hey, if I get pulled back here, you know, I'm not really going to be freaking out. I've been in crypto long enough to understand that, you know, if I buy an altcoin and then it shortly later goes down 19%, that's like not a big deal, right? Volatility on altcoins is insane. So just be careful, right? I'm not saying you can't, you know, again, you know, I've picked up my altcoins a lot of my altcoins a lot lower, right? Or, you know, either a lot lower or like at break even where we're at right now. But, you know, if I was not exposed to any altcoins and I'm looking at this stuff, well, it's like I'm probably starting to look at this and be like, let me try to nibble at some of these altcoins, right? But I'm not really just some guy. I'm not a guy that just buys full port into an altcoin, right? I would dollar cost average in. But now it's a decision you can make. If you're willing to endure pullbacks and the idea that maybe alt season doesn't happen, which I think is less likely, but definitely a possibility, right? You just have to make sure you understand the risk. So yeah, but I would say, like, looking at that dominance chart, right? It's like, well, hey, I don't know. Writing's on the wall there, right? So yeah. Shout out to Lasers, says, du hast. Shout out to Lasers. Yeah, I got you, Frankie. Thank you. Shout out to Dab and Flow. No problemo, brother. So yeah, no, your idea is not wrong. I just be careful. I'm not going to tell, you know, full port into altcoins right now because dominance is dumping, because then I get stuck up here. And I know, Dab and Flow, you're probably not one of these people. You've been here for so long. But, you know, then I'm like, people are like, I full ported into, you know, my alt and now it's dumping. And it's like, okay, well, you know, you can anticipate some turbulence here. And that's okay. I would anticipate that. If this comes up, right, you're going to get some turbulence on the altcoins. But trend-wise, you know, that's the likely situation. So if you don't mind buying, enduring some turbulence before potentially seeing the alt season come in, well, that's fine. So yeah, shout out to Dab Flow. Great question, bro. Ondo. Let's take a look at Ondo. Is this my Ondo chart? Yeah. Ondo still, guys. And this is kind of why, like, to be honest, like, there's not a ton to update. Like, every day I look at these altcoins and it's like all these levels remain the same, right? Like, we front ran the golden pocket here. We bounced off a local golden pocket. The full golden pocket of this move is still sitting down here at about 83 to 78 cents, right? So, you know, I would even argue that maybe if you can identify some liquidity sitting down here, come down for one more push into the POC golden pocket, get a nice little SFP, and then maybe you can get a push up from there. I don't love long in the middle of a range, right? But, and why is that? Well, you know, when you reject the value area high, right, chances are, if you lose the POC, you're going to fill that range and fall to the value area low. But if you can identify that there's a lot of liquidity sitting there, which maybe I can even kind of front run for you guys, I'll just take a look. Just losing track of what we're looking at here, guys. Wow. So locally up to about 96 cents. You have a lot of liquidity sitting up there above 96 cents, which is not a huge move. Let me go ahead. I'm going to have to pull this back. 85. Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, they're really, I mean, I can't see a lot of liquidity sitting there on the heat map. Let's take a look at it on the Bybit chart. There we go. This is Bitcoin. I guess I'll have to look at Binance. I don't really like looking at Binance when it comes to liquidity, but yeah, to be honest, yeah, I don't know. There's not really a ton of visible liquidity down there. It's locally it's above, but yeah, I'm just not seeing a ton down here. So I probably wouldn't be that interested in that. But if you do get the pullback, right, like golden pocket POC, still a confluent level of support. But again, you know, 3-day money flow still continuing. Yeah, Here's another thing to look at, guys, right? It's like a lot of these altcoins are waiting on that 3-day money flow crossover. This is exactly what we looked at on so many different things, including Ethereum. That 3-day money flow crossover indicates the continuation up. Lackluster pullbacks for higher lows and higher highs. This is oftentimes what you're looking for on the altcoins, right? And on Ondo, right, this is still just kind of wiggling around. VWAP curling up. I mean, if that money flow crosses over, it wouldn't be impossible to not fill the range in full and just kind of get the breakout from there. Take a look at the daily. Yeah, daily money flow is just a complete and total chop fest there. But, yeah, just very, very clearly, I would say, next key level of support, Golden Pocket POC, 83 to 78 cents. 786 I'm less interested in because you're below the point of control at that point, right? So any bounces could just get you stuck for the full fill of the range. So I'm much more interested in the Golden Pocket POC than the 786, but it is there sitting at 73 cents. 74 cents. So there you go. And money flow just total chop fest here on the daily. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the 16-hour. That's my fault. Daily money flow coming out. So yeah, we'll have to let this kind of develop. Not really too much to update though. Key level of resistance up here at the value area high, $1.17. So key support, key resistance, lose this, I'm probably looking down here. And that is sitting at 66 cents. So just take a look at the weekly. Yeah, weekly red dot confirmed. 2-week red dot is printing. Monthly red dot is no information. So that's what I would look at. So support. And then super local liquidity above, what is it? I think it's just above 95 cents, right? Yeah, leading up to about 97 cents. So could say, oof, kind of already got, yeah, potential SFP there into 96 cents. So you do have liquidity there. Not that I would just short this, but, you're just going to look at that as a potential opportunity to look for an SFP. Why did I make that blue? Check the 4-hour. Yeah, I mean, the lower time frames don't look bad. Like, I would say short term, if you can get above these resistances. If you get the SFP, for me, SFPs are a trade, right? Because it's just like such a high probability with a good risk to reward, right? It's like, well, hey, like even if you get like a small move down, right? Like it's just a nice defined stop loss. And a high probability of rejection to get you into profit as soon as possible to protect yourself. And then if it doesn't play out, well, you get stopped at a break even or maybe in profit. But it's just a very high probability reaction, even if you're just going to put in a higher low and continue up. That move down is very likely if you get the SFP, in my opinion, right? Or not even in my opinion. It's not 100% of the time, but more often than not, those SFPs are very, very powerful. And then if you can get the fib confluence, it's like, yeah, I mean, maybe SFP into the golden pocket. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, you got that liquidity up there. That would be for a scalp, though. That would not be like a long-term trade. So, yeah, short-term, 90-minute money flow looking to cross over into the green with the daily green dot. What does that say to me? That says potential bounce, right? Man, if you don't get the SFP, maybe you get a bigger bounce. But lower highs and lower lows is still the higher probability with this money flow coming out. It's not as aggressive as it is on Bitcoin, but it is coming out. So just keep that in mind. And your 2-day money flow is back in the red as well. So, yeah, these are probably just going to chop around, right? We got to let information come in. Hey, shout out to Mrs. I'm just going to call you Mrs. All. Mrs. All Finnan. Shout out to you. Says, what is an SFP? A short squeeze / bounce? Hey, shout out. That's not a bad guess. Technically, an SFP a lot of times will occur on a short squeeze. So you're kind of right there, to be honest. An SFP is when it's basically all it is a candlestick pattern, which is basically a failure to trade above a level, right? So like if I had to mark out an SFP, this would be an SFP, right? You have your wick up here, likely with a lot of liquidity. If you could see it on the heat maps, it's very helpful, right? But the idea here is that you have a lot of stop losses above this wick. And when price pushes into those stop losses, when you get stopped out or liquidated out of a short position, creates a market buy, which gives you that big wick up. And what will happen very often is you get that short squeeze, but if you can get back down below, and I don't look for these on the 2-day, right? So maybe I'll pull it back down to a lower time frame. It's kind of annoying because you didn't get the SFP on the lower time frames. So I'll just use this, right? So you get the wick above, the closure down below, right? So you stop out all the short positions. And then oftentimes what will happen is a lot of people think that we're pumping. And they're like, oh, my God, breakout. And then everyone longs, and their stop losses go down below. And just like you get that big wick to the upside to wreck all the shorts, oftentimes you get that reversal, and then all that long liquidity is sitting down here, which usually will cause a nice cascade to the downside. So it just makes it a beautiful place to look for an entry on a short position. And you can do it for longs as well. Just flip it upside down. That would be a long position. But an SFP is just a candlestick confirmation, right? And the candlestick confirmation is wick above. Once you close that candle down below and confirm your next candle, then you're going to be expecting that move to the downside. I have a video in the beginner series teaching you exactly how to trade SFPs, how to find the better entries into them. I cover everything. So cover the beginner series. If you're new here, make sure you check out the beginner series. It's basically like a free beginner's top-down view of what we look at here on the channel. And I do have a SFP specific video there. TARS. Let's take a look at TARS. All right. And hopefully, I'm not even going to move the price action yet. I'm not going to move to the current price action. Hopefully, there's something to talk about here because there has not been something to talk about on TARS for quite some time. Still nothing to talk about, unfortunately. This thing is just chopping. You're holding your key level. You do not want to lose this zone. You don't want to lose 0.05189. You lose this, could be coming down to the high volume node at about 4 cents. So other than that, there's just nothing to say here, right? We're just going sideways. From a market cipher perspective, daily money flow still in the red. 2-day money flow still in the red. 3-day money flow still in the red. It's just nothing to say here, to be quite honest. I mean, until you lose this level or get a much bigger move up into a key level of resistance, it's not much to say here. Your key level of resistance remains the same. Anchored, I'm going to move this. Well, I'll just add another anchored VWAP here. Yeah, these are just literally in the same spot. So I would say your biggest level of resistance sits between this anchored VWAP at about 0.087. And it really leads all the way into this golden pocket 786 and into the POC of the range. Like, this is your big zone of resistance here. 0.09 or 9 cents to 11 cents. Until TARS gets a push up here, right? Like, there's nothing to really say. Until TARS loses this level and comes down here, there's really nothing to say. We're just going sideways. So, and I know not everybody watches this stream every day, so, you know, some people have never heard this. But this is your massive key level. You do not want to lose this. You lose 5 cents, and I'm looking down towards 0.044, potentially down towards the daily at about 0.038. But until then, right, we're just kind of bing-bonging around sideways. And just like every other altcoin, right, like maybe your green dot is looking to print. You could take a look at that with the 90-minute money flow crossover. But, I mean, TARS really hasn't been reactive or following the rest of the market. It's just kind of been doing its own thing going sideways here. So, yeah, I would say if you get that daily green dot, that would be what I would look for the next move up. But, I mean, are you even holding this local fib here? Not really. I mean, you're losing your 786. Yeah, you're losing this 786. So, man. You still have the weekly MPOC just below this 786. So it wouldn't be impossible to come sweep and get another bounce from this level, but you just do not want to lose this. Right? If you pull this up from a volume profile perspective, I don't know why I typed it like that. Yeah, I mean, you can just see, like, there's a huge gap here, right? Get below this level, right? There's not a lot of volume sitting between this key's weekly MPOC and this high volume node at 0.044. That's why I say if you lose this, you could get a very fast move down. Excuse me, a very fast move down to that high volume node. So there you go. Just like another kind of reason to look for that. But other than that, not really too much to update here on TARS. But that's what I'd be looking at. Major resistance, major support. Shout out to Daily. Shout out to Daily says, when it comes to heat maps, I'm finding none are for Femex. Suggest any alternatives. Binance, Bybit. When it comes to CoinGlass, yeah, I look at the Bybit heat map. I do not look, although I do trade on Femex, obviously, as the long position I just showed you guys. I do trade on Femex and Blowfin, but I look at the Bybit heat map. I don't, I've just found, right, that looking at the Bybit levels it's just more accurate. I don't know if it's because there's more volume. I couldn't really give you the answer to that. But I just find them more accurate to look at the Bybit data. Now, there is something to say about, like, if you are, like, micro scalping, you might want to look like I chart, right? Like, when I look at Bitcoin, right, I'm looking at the BTC USD perpetual contract on Bybit, even though I'm trading on Femex. At least the trade I'm in right now. Actually, I'm in 2 trades. I'm in the short and the long. So Bybit and Blowfin. I mean, Femex and Blowfin. But I look at Bybit, right? So when I'm looking at the heat map, just so you know, right, I'm in my long position on Femex, and what chart was I looking at to identify this sweep of liquidity before the move up? It was the Bybit chart. I just find it more, when I was looking at the Femex price chart, I was just getting front run constantly. And I just realized that a lot of the times it was coming down to other exchanges levels. And more often than not, it is a Bybit level. So I just find that to be the best chart to look at, in my personal opinion. But it could be preference. It's totally up to you. I think unless you're like micro scalping the 1 minute, I think it's totally fine to be looking at the Bybit chart. Or at least that was my experience, right? I stopped getting front run as much as soon as I changed that, made that little tweak. So yeah, I would say it's not a big deal that you can't find a Femex heat map. Just look at the Bybit heat map. That's what I do. Shout out to Detta Gain says, is ADA also just a giant chop slop coin? It has not reached halfway to its previous bull market high. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really be worried too much about that specific not being at its all-time high. But yeah, I mean, this is, I went super deep on the altcoins today. I've kind of tried not to cover them as much. I try to cover them because I know a lot of people tune in just for the altcoins. But again, it's like, most things are going to follow Bitcoin, for the most part, unless we see, if Bitcoin's not pumping, right, like it's very unlikely that we're going to see Bitcoin, get a 20% drop and the altcoins just rip. So it's just like, and when everything's just chopping around here on like all the key levels remain the same, like even on Cardano, right? It's like we're just still bing-bonging around this level. Value area high was the key level of resistance. We get stuck in here. I'm still looking down towards this POC golden pocket that we've been looking at for weeks. If we get the rip up, right, your key level of resistance is still this value area low that we've been looking at for weeks. So it's like this stuff is just chopping around. Like we need Bitcoin to make a move to see like new information on the chart. And I just hate to be super repetitive, even though I just went over every altcoin. But yeah, I would say, again, everything looks the same. Money flow comes out. Green dot's printing. I would bet my bottom dollar that 90-minute money flow is coming up. Why? How do I know that, right? Well, it's because every other altcoin looks the same. These are all they all move together for the most part. I know there are outliers, obviously, but from a general standpoint, all this stuff follows, If you have money flow coming out on the daily on, Ondo or green dot on the daily on Ondo with 90-minute money flow coming up, right? It's probably going to look very similar on a lot of other stuff, right? So yeah, next key level of support, if we get a bigger drop down on Cardano, is going to be sitting between 72 and 68 cents. If we get the breakdown below that POC golden pocket, I will be looking down towards the 786, which is actually nice because it is confluent with the value area low. So there you go. And I've covered this many a times, but you could even look at this as somewhat of a new range, right? Ah, man, I would have really liked if that value area low was a little deeper. But yeah, that's for the most part. Value area high sits at 83 cents. And I would say if you can't get above this, you could come down to the POC. But like at the end of the day, you could still kind of come up here and like in this chop fest, it's like, oh my God, we're back above it, and now we're back below it. Oh my God, we're back above, right? So you just gotta wait for the move. I'm never just gonna like look to take a trade because I think it's going up or I think it's going down. I'm just gonna enter a trade unless there's a reason to enter that trade, right? More often than not, I have my traps set in the market. Trading is a game of trapping. If it comes down here, you could be interested in potential long positions. If it comes up here, you could be interested in potential short positions. And here, there's just really not much to do. Yes, it will move up or move down, but unless you have a specific reason to enter the trade, which I'm not saying there's no reason to enter a trade, but based off what I look at, I guess if I had to take a trade here, I would have to get some kind of confirmation. And if I got that confirmation, I would look to short that value area high into the POC. But I don't really see anything super convincing here. I would just rather wait for the bigger levels to get hit. Patience is the unspoken hero of trading, guys. Patience will probably make you more money than FOMOing into positions and just hoping for a move. Yo, shout out to Panda the Prophet said, Frankie, are we poor now? I hope not. I hope not. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens here, especially on Bitcoin, guys, because it's, again, I don't want to beat the dead horse. We are hitting local resistance here on Bitcoin. And on Bitcoin, it's a little different, right? Because you don't really have the fresh green dot. This green dot's already confirmed, right? When you have the green dot, when you're looking at the market cipher B116 strategies, you're looking for the green dot to be printing, right? You want this green dot to be printing, not confirmed. As soon as you can print that next candle, I could zoom in here because I know it's kind of hard to see, right? Green dot printing. As soon as the next candle confirms, now it's confirmed, right? That green dot is locked in. When you look at something like Cardano, right? Like this is about to print, right? So you want the green dot printing on the daily with the 90-minute money flow crossing over into the green for the most part. For the best market cipher B116 setups, which this will be a bullish setup, you want that stuff to be happening at the same time. It's not even perfect here on Cardano because you already got the money flow crossover. So I would say, you know, we're at resistance. If we could break above this, I would say, and not just this, right? I would say it's also the 786. Once you crack above this 786 on Bitcoin, you can look to push up into the $115,000 zone. That's the next big zone to look at, 114 to 115K. If we get the rejection here, well, we could look for a potential last little sweep of the lows here. And yes, there are scenarios where you could put in higher lows and continue the trend, but I'm not going to cover every scenario. You know, just trying to give the big levels here. So break above, I would say 112, 123. That opens up the door. And again, it's not just a wick above, right? Because you could just do something like this and then eventually just wind up rejecting that 786. But if you flip above this into support and put it into flip it into support, well, that's the next big zone to look at. That's the next place I'm looking for a potential short, right? Just like this was the last level that we were looking at for the long. And even if we come back down and get that sweep again, I may add to that position. If it stops out, next big level on the chart is the 786. Value area low confluence. Monthly MPOC, daily MPOC, 105 to 104, about $104,000 to the 786. So we'll see what happens. It's a sit on your hands and wait situation for me personally. Well, not really. I mean, it's a sit in my long and my short at the same time, just waiting for one of these to get stopped out. If I had a preference of what I want to happen, I would say stop me out of the dang short, get my long deeper in profit, so I could take some profit off the table and then look for the much better short, in my opinion. This is looked at as a day trade or scalp level. This is going to be looked at as more of a significant place to get a bigger move from. So until we hit those levels, guys, I will keep you updated here every single step of the way. Let's see. Shout out to Laser Go Pew Pew, 1:27 a.m. Geez, you're dedicated. Shout out to Jesse. Oh, my God. Jesse is always up at the wee hours of the morning to hang out with the Mafia. I absolutely love it. It's 6:27 where I am. Shout out to Captain Kirk. Hot dang. Everybody's in a different time zone. How do you determine price targets in price discovery, fib extensions? And if so, I assume that was fib extensions question mark. If so, what levels should you look at? Shout out to Indian Martini. Yes, for me personally, I've covered this a bunch of times. For price discovery, right? I'll just show you this example because it's super simple. Pulled from the high to the low. Pull up your extension levels, right? The first major bull market target for me, and the only place I've taken profit on my spot bag so far was actually, it wasn't, I took this off the chart personally. Just because this was more of a significant level for me. Right, this was bull market target number one. I made pre-records about it, saying like, "Hey guys," I think I made pre-records like before we even put it in a new all-time high, saying if we do break out, you know, where can we look for our first target to be? And it was really sitting between $91,000 and $102,000. This is where I took a little bit of spot profit on my Bitcoin. Right, again, I am in from down here. Right, so it's like people might be like, "Why'd you take profit here? We're going to 200K." I mean, maybe, right, but for me personally, right, I'm already up massively on my spot bag here. Right, so I'm going to take a little bit off the table. It would just be silly not to. Right. And if you've been in this market, you probably don't think that's crazy. Right. If you're just joined, you're probably like, dude, don't you? It's going to 500K. Right. Like that is not you know, if you do not take profits, you will not make money. Right. That's at the end of the day. Right. If you make a good trade, you have to take some money off the table. But when it comes to the you know, we can't look left to find any levels here. So we pull that Fibonacci extension. We had it right here. That's bull market target number one. Bull market target number two for me on the macro level. We do have local targets up here as well. 125K was one of them. But the next major bull market target, if we go into new all-time highs, in my opinion, would be up here, sitting between 155 and 137K. I would put a little more weight on 137K. I don't know if we're going to go to 150K. Been saying that, you know, I've been saying that since the beginning, right? Hopefully we do. If we get up here and it looks really good, maybe we can look up to 150. But more often than not, guys, the main targets you see talked about, whether it's online, between your friends, whatever analysts, right? No, that was like 100K this cycle, right? More often than not, right? Like Bitcoin likes to trick people. So You just have to be aware of that, right? And that's why, I've been in this market long enough to know, like, you know what? I would really hate myself. Do I think the top is in here? No. Am I in enough profit from the bottom that I could take some money off the table? Because, like, what if this is the top, right? I'll really be upset if I didn't take any money off the table. So, yeah, Fibonacci extensions is really what I'd look at. Spider lines as well. And as far as what Fibonacci extension targets to look at, I have, you could just pause the video when I pull up those settings, but I wouldn't even, these are somewhat experimental. I've played around with these for a very long time. I would recommend just using the default levels. So if you just apply the default settings, right, and then obviously I'll have to extend this over, right? You could see even here, there's the 1618, which was one of the levels that I had on the chart at 101, 102K. But you can even see here, right, like 155K. That's part of my levels as well, but I have little intermediary levels, which hilariously enough were spot on here, right? We held the level here, back up, but I would feel, I don't want to suggest something that's not like, I don't have like any statistics on these targets getting hit, the experimental ones that I look at. So I would just look at the typical ones, right? Just pull up your default settings. You'll get the 1618, the 2618, the 3618, and the 4236. And these are, if you backtest this, right? Let's go from the top of 2017 to the bottom. Well, I'll have to extend it, right? Where'd the top come in? Well, hey. I'll just delete this, right? The 3618, and then we went for the 4236, but we just did not make it, right? But you can see they are respected, right? The 2618. You flip it to support, you bounce off the 3618, back down, you lose it, back up, right? So you can see they are very well respected. So there you go. But there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on Bitcoin. Again, I cannot stress enough how important the level of support we are bouncing off of right now is. I'm okay sweeping the lows one more time, but once we end up losing the $108,000 to $107,000 zone, guys, that is the first sign of major weakness on Bitcoin, in my opinion. If we lose that golden pocket, anchored VWAP, POC, the next place to look is just within the profile. So locally, you could just look at this. If we get stuck back into this range, well, hey, look for the sweep of the low again. If we get stuck under the POC, we just look for that full fill of the range where we can then look for more long opportunities through the lens of a day trade or scalp until proven otherwise, right? Why? Because money flow is coming out on the higher time frames. So that's what we're looking at, guys. Watch the daily, watch the 2-week bearish divergence. Watch that monthly bearish divergence. Watch that daily money flow. Hopefully we can continue up a little bit more locally here. I'm in the long, I'm in the short. They're both, my short's pretty much at break even. Long's obviously well in profit. So yeah, we'll see what happens. That's my trading plan. Those are the key levels that I'll be looking at. Shout out to Crypto Billy. What is going on? Welcome in, bro. I hate to walk out as soon as Billy walks in. I feel like I got to extend the stream. We can't walk out on Crypto Billy. Shout out to Crypto Billy. Good to see you in here, brother. I hope you're doing well. Johnny December. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to Givers Game, baby. Let's go. Oh, wait. Is today Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Billy Goat Tales tonight on X, guys. Don't miss it. Thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Crypto Billy. Shout out to Laser Go Pew Pew. Shout out to TP. Don't forget to TP. Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Jesse. Smash that like button on your way out, guys. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for 80,000 subscribers. My mind is blown. 100K next, and I don't know. Let us know what we should do for 100,000 subscribers when we do hit it. What kind of should we do? A giveaway? Should we do a 24-hour stream? Let me know. Let me know. But with all that being said, that's all the time we got for tonight's live stream. I will see you guys tomorrow right here, same place, same time. If anything crazy happens, I'll drop a market update. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Space shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, I can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switch Switched up, whose man's high? Through it all, I stay the same. I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up from my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose, and I'm still right. Still right. I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life. I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose, and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Almost forgot the fake out. Almost forgot the fake out, guys. I have no plan here. I have no plan here. Strum says, why is the entire market pumping? Shout out to Strum. I don't know. I mean, if you ask me, I'm going to give you a technical reason every time. We came down to a major level of support. At least that's why I longed the bottom. I can't tell, I don't know, news events. You guys know I don't pay attention to narratives or news events really that much. It just has everything to do with coming down to that key level that we waited so long for. And honestly, I was holding this long position yesterday. It's just finally starting to play out. But yeah, that's what I got. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. You know the rest. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the roll.